Hello and welcome to Low Budget Gaming and welcome to another first Descendant video. So I wanted to make an updated guide to the trigger modules and the ancestors modules. Depending on how long the video is, I might split them into their separate videos or just cover everything in this one. I have made guides for these things before, but the videos are starting to get a little outdated because a lot has changed since these things were first added to the game. They added the trigger modules in August 25 with the launch of the Axion plane, so it's been about 6 months or so. And they've added new trigger modules, they've adjusted the balances, they've increased the capacity, and so quite a few little things have changed. So I wanted to go over the basics again on how to use them, how to unlock them, where to get them from, and things like that. Okay, so first let's begin with how to get them. So with the launch of Season 3 Episode 1 and the Axion planes along with Nell, they added this new feature which was the trigger module. So this is an extra module slot which can only take one of these trigger modules. And in order to unlock this slot, you need to have put at least 10 catalysts into your Descendant. You need one energy activator used on your Descendant to increase the capacity. And also you need to have level 40 on the arcade tuning. So you need to be level 40 here as well. And once you meet all these conditions, you need something called the Refined Axiom Crystal. This is a consumable. It's very easy to farm. You run missions in the Axion planes, and the 4 research materials there, they drop from all the missions there, so you'll get them in no time. Once you have 100 of each, you go to Anais in Albion, and you can research this Axion crystal in 20 minutes. And once you have that, you come here to the Prime Hands. You go to the terminal, you click on Unlock Arcade Trigger. You can see we meet all these conditions. You need one of these and 300,000 Kuiper. Once you have all of this, you click on the unlock and it'll unlock it for you. I've already done it for Freyna. You can watch the cutscene again if you wanted, in case you have already done that. But yeah, this is basically how you unlock the trigger module. Okay, so how do these trigger modules work? They work with your skills, with your different skills, and they are grouped into different types of skills, let's say. So over the basic info, you will see 3 sort of boxes: explosive projectile, ground dot, and continuous damage. So these 3 things describe your first skill, Freyna's first skill, Venom Trauma. And so if you have a trigger module that triggers with one of these types of skills, you can use it with Freyna. Similarly, the second skill has defense enhancement, continuous damage, ally enhancement. So again, if you use a trigger module that works with these 3, it will work with this skill. Similarly, third skill, fourth skill is exclusive weapon, continuous damage, so it will work with anything that matches that. Now the good thing here is if you use a skill, let's say you go here and you want to find something that works with your first skill, you click on this and it will show you the modules that work with your first skill. Now keep in mind, each Descendant can use multiples of these, so it's not like necessarily a fixed one for each Descendant, but there are some that have been made for Descendants and they work the best with certain Descendants. So for the first skill, you can see Tactical Strike will work, Power Beyond works, Ground Eruption will work. Now sometimes only half of the condition might work. So for example, the trigger modules will have 2 things happening, like 2 types of damages, but only one will trigger with certain Descendants, and in only some cases both will work. So I'll give you a great example for Freyna. One of Freyna's best one, or the best one currently, is Infected Weapon. Now this has 2 stages. So it says here, when attacking with continuous damage type skills, inflicts RK infection. So if you look at the numbers below, you have 2 damages. You have the duration first for the RK infection. So it says damage between 265 and 855. These are random rolls that you get from the trigger module. So you can get lucky and something really good like I got here, or sometimes you'll just end up with 265. So it's RNG and you cannot, re-roll these things. So you have to go keep playing the game and eventually you might get a good one. You can also trade for one of these, which is how I got this one. So one of my friends, he was kind enough to offer me for next to nothing. So that is how I managed to get this one. Now the second half, you can see it says exclusive weapon. So above it says, when attacking targets inflicted with RK infection with unique weapon type skills, these additional damage equal to RK infection. So what that means is, when you look at the first skill, you see that continuous damage is colored red, meaning this trigger module is working with this skill. Over here, again, continuous damage is working with this skill. Over here, continuous damage is working again. And over here, both of those conditions are working. So with this one, the first condition, the arcane infection, that will work. You'll be doing the continuous damage. You'll not be doing the exclusive weapon part. Over here, you will be doing both the things. So not only will the enemies be taking continuous damage, and then when you pull out the exclusive weapon, they'll take additional damage, which is the second part of this trigger module. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, there are multiples, like I said, you can use. So for example, with Freyna, we can use the Power Beyond as well. Power Beyond. So Power Beyond, this works, again, has multiple things going on. And first up, it gives you a base skill power increase. Now, this is something that confuses a lot of people still. That first part, this does not need to be triggered. It is just given to you. 15% is given to you. It will work with Descendants where none of the other conditions are met. So for example, let me get somebody who doesn't use any of the conditions. So let's say we get Bunny here. Now, Bunny, if you look at the skill power, we don't have any base skill power, okay? And if we look at the Power Beyond trigger module, yeah, this one here. Now this one says it works with global dot and ground dot skills. So if you look here, nothing, 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 nothing. None of these four skills have ground dot or global dot. However, if you look at the numbers here, we are getting the 15% base skill power that was mentioned on the Power Beyond. So in some cases, when we don't have an ideal trigger module for a Descendant, we just put Power Beyond because we're at least getting that 15% extra power. Okay, so back to Freyna because I've got another example. Now, with Freyna, we can use Power Beyond, but it does work with Freyna. So if you put here, and it says, when using global dot or ground dot type skills, grants void recharge. So void recharge is just a stack of something, and hitting an enemy while void recharge is at max stacks with a global dot or a ground dot skill creates an amorphous phenomenon, which basically it tows the enemies and reduces their attack percentage. If you see over here, let's get a bunch of enemies here. Let's say Order of Truth. Let's get, let's say 10 of these, 11 of these. And so what I'll do is when I hit the ground skills or the global dot, so once again, this is ground dot, this is ground dot. We don't have global dot on Freyna. So if you drop this, you'll see it says void recharge. You see like a circle moving around. 2, 3, and then we do 4, and notice what happens. So it pulls all of them in and reduces their attack. So this is how, because we got the 4th stack, and that's why this happens. So with other Descendants, this might not happen because you don't get that void recharge because you're not using a ground dot or a global dot. You still get that 15%. So this is very handy to tow all the enemies in together, and then you can do more damage to them this way. Let me give you one more example while we're here. Let's go with let me put the Infected back because that is the best one for Freyna that I use normally. Let's go with the Valby. Now with Valby, they added this new one in, I think, December or maybe earlier, ground eruption. So once again, this one has like a condition where you have to do one thing and then do the second thing on top. When attacking targets being hit by ground dot type skills with a global dot type skill, deals skill damage to the target. So in order for this to work properly, you need a Descendant that is doing both the ground dot and the global dot. As you saw with Freyna, she was only doing ground dot. Valby does both, and VSI does both, but VSI it's a bit harder to implement the ground dot. So if you see with the Valby, the first skill is a ground dot, and the 4th skill is a global dot. You can see the one in red. So in other words, when you have enemies taking ground dot damage, you can pull out your global dot, which is the 4th, and when you hit them, they'll take additional damage. So enemies that are already being hit by ground dot, when you hit them with global dot, they'll take more damage. And they also have extra conditions like additional damage to Colossus, additional damage to Elites, additional damage to Commanders, additional damage to Tyrants. That's why Valby does so well in places like the Forbidden Sanctuary, because you can throw your ground out with the water everywhere. They are taking damage from the ground, and then you pull out your fort and you hit them on top of the ground dot with the global dot, and then you trigger all of this and you destroy them. The bosses go down very quickly with Valby. So where do you get these trigger modules? You get them from various missions, and sometimes they drop directly, and sometimes you get these boxes. Trigger module selection box A, and you get trigger module selection box B. So in this one, it shows you all the trigger modules that are in this box, and you can just click on one and open and get one of them, whichever one you wanted. You can choose which you want. Similarly for trigger module B, you can see we have more of them. A lot of them are similar, but they've also added some of the recent ones here. So you can see the last three. These are the latest additions with the episode 3 of season 3. So focus and expansion is for Clay, Icebreaker, Overcharged Shield. Let's open one of these. Let's see if I can get a better Icebreaker for Dia. So far, I've been farming normally, and I've only managed to get 2 of 3 now because I got some from the Wall Crusher. None of them are particularly great. So let's see if we get lucky here. Okay, we got another Icebreaker. Let's see if it's any good. Icebreaker is better than my previous ones. So over here, at least we are doing a bunch of damage to the additional Colossus. The first part is still not great, but it's a big improvement nonetheless. So yeah, so this is how you can get one. The other way is from missions. So if you go on the world map, the most reliable and best source is the Wall Crusher, the world boss that appears every hour. You can also get them from various missions. So if you see here the Forbidden Sanctuary, you can get trigger module E and trigger module C, and it shows you the ones that are in there. You'll get one of these. This one tends to just open, like when you finish the mission, you'll get one of these. You won't get a box to open one. So you'll get one of these 3. Ground Eruption again is for Valby. Instant Acceleration, Infected Weapon. I think these were from the December update, I think. And then you have trigger module E, Tactical Strike, Two-Phase Kill Chain. I think this is from January. Then we go to the latest dungeon, the Underwater Sea base. And you can see we get trigger module Loot F. These loot, the ones which say loot, they open directly. The boxes will stay in your inventory. So this one has the newest 3. So if you run the underwater base dungeon, you have a chance of getting the 3 new modules. Also, you have these operational area missions. So when you go with the ones with the fangs here, there is a chance of you getting them from finishing these missions from the commander. So again, there is a chance, it's not guaranteed every time. And other places will also drop these. So for example, the Void Vessel, medium size, the new one, you get box A here. Again, this is loot A, sorry. So loot meaning it'll just open, and you get Wave Eruption, Rhythmic Step, Supply Fortress. These were the newer ones they added. So Wave Eruption is for, you could say Blair and Bunny can use that. Rhythmic Step is for Luna. Supply Fortress is for Ajax, basically. So yeah, so you have to just look around, see which one you want, but try to do the Colossus every hour, and you can get some big drops here. So usually you'll get 4 or 5, but some occasions you can get a big drop of like 22 of these trigger modules. So hopefully you'll get some good ones here. All right, next up, regarding dismantling and these things, you just come to Cillian over here, and there's a separate dismantle trigger section. You can basically dismantle everything here. For example, we just got that Icebreaker. This is decent. I don't want to dismantle this, so click on U to register this so that it doesn't get dismantled. So you can see this is being used. This is saved with the favorite symbol, so this won't get dismantled. Now I can get rid of the rest. Let's get rid of this, dismantle. You'll get some Kuiper back. And finally, let's talk a little bit about the trade and how to trade the trigger modules and the ancestors modules. So you go to the first Descendant website, you sign in, and then you use the market beta. Over here, you can sell and buy your ancestors modules and the trigger modules. We'll talk about the trigger here because the video is already too long, so I'll talk about the ancestors in a separate video. So let's say you wanted to find one for Dia. Now, previously you had to wait a little while before you could trade the latest modules, but now you can do it instantly. So Icebreaker, and if you see, these are the ones available for sale. You can see the stats here. Obviously the gold ones mean they're very good, and then there will be some with purple. So you can figure out what a fair price would be for these. Some of these are very expensive, but there might be some reasonable ones here as well. You can also select them with the latest first, or you can go with price low to high. And you can also go with people who are online right now, because you need the seller to be online as well in order to go and trade with them. So you can see this guy is online, 1913, 300 per stack. This is okay for 10 caliber. If you're having a really hard time like me, only getting blue rolls, you could spend 10 caliber and get this. Now you can also sell your trigger modules. So if you go into register for sale here, trigger modules and system modules, you can sell both of them. So you can see I have these as my modules that I have. I can maybe pick and choose something to sell. Let's see if there is anything half decent I can sell. I don't want to accidentally sell anything that I want to keep. I tend to put, I think I had a good storm bullet for Sharon that I wanted to sell. So let's see, I need to dismantle some of them. 43,191. I'm using one with 4,580, so I'll just try and not sell that one. So yeah, this is the one I'm using. I've marked it as well. So I can sell maybe one of the others. 43,196, 44,183, 43,191. So let's say I put this one here for 20, and I make it available on all platforms, and I'll register this, and this will get listed in the on sale section. Okay, so you can see this might pop up somewhere. So this is just showing the icebreakers. If you go here, you can add another one, or you can look at your sales history. I have sold a couple of these trigger modules. I've sold one infected weapon, 803, 438, and then one power beyond 1519. So yeah, so you can sell a few here and there as well. If you want to buy one, let's say icebreaker. Now I don't know if I can show you the trade live because it depends on the person on the other side. But let's say I was looking to buy, let's say I wanted to buy this. This guy is online. So if I wanted to purchase, I would click on this. They would respond. Let's actually try this. All right, let's try this. So what I'll do is I'll click on purchase here, and hopefully because this guy is online, we might be able to conclude the trade. So I'll click here, and the game will send a whisper in the game to that person. They'll get a message saying low budget gaming wants to buy this from you for 10 caliber. So click on purchase, and now the whisper will be sent to this guy. Okay, let's go into the game. All right, so you can see to Ascension 7470, I have sent a whisper icebreaker. I would like to purchase the item for 10 caliber. So what I'll do is I'll just wait a few seconds. This is the trade terminal. Normally what happens is when they see the message, they will send me a party invite. I will join their party. We'll both go to this terminal, and then we'll do the trade. So I'll give it a few minutes, see if they respond. If they do, I'll be able to add this whole trade thing into this video. All right, I got a new party request. So that was very quick, maybe like 20 seconds. So now I joined their party. All right, so I've joined their party. They should be standing at the terminal. Let's go and meet them. Hello. I think it's all business with this guy. So let's go into the trade terminal. Wait for them to arrive. Click on that. Confirm. So I'm waiting for them to add. I'll just maybe add the 10 caliber here. Maybe they're having a hard time trying to find it in their list of modules. Okay, finally they found it. Okay, all good. So what we'll do is we will lock the trade, accept the trade, and there we go. We got the new thing added. Thank you very much. And now we can leave the party. So yeah, so that is how you do a trade for a trigger module. And of course, you have a capacity of 250, which I think I forgot to mention, but yeah, you can dismantle them here. If you look in your module section over here, it'll show you 250. We are at 130, plenty of space there right now. So you can fill this up and you can keep a few for trades and things like that as well. But anyway, hopefully this was useful and all the information related to the trigger modules. I'll try and make a similar one for the ancestors modules with the updated information for season 3, episode 3. That's it. Thank you for watching. See you next time.